The pages in this book were developed through years of experiences that I have gone through, as well as what has been proven to work for others that I have talked to and have researched. I also want to congratulate you for taking the time to understand your own shopping addiction and how you can overcome it. I can guarantee that you will find this book useful if you make sure to implement what you learn in the following pages. The important thing is that you implement what you learn. A shopping addiction is not conquered overnight, but the important thing to remember is that it is definitely possible for you to overcome it. What I'm giving you is the information that will enable you to understand your own mind, how shopping addictions negatively affect those around you, and the steps you will need to make that journey. Many people experience shopping addictions and aren't really aware of the signs and symptoms that are going on. There is a difference between casually shopping recreationally and unconsciously feeling the need to spend money in order to fill a deeper need. As you go through these pages, you'll get a better understanding of what shopping addiction really is, the signs and symptoms of someone who has a shopping addiction, and you will learn several ways that you can overcome it. We will dive into what is going on in your mind, how your body reacts to your triggers, how your early childhood can influence the rest of your life, and what work is required of you to get past the roadblocks you have. I recommend that you take notes while you are reading this book. This will ensure that you get the most out of the information in here. I want you to look over the notes of this book even after you've finished reading it, because the notes will help you pinpoint exactly what you need to implement, and by writing things down, you will be able to recall specifics and how to handle certain situations when they arise. I want you to feel that you made a purchase that is worth your money. Lastly, remember that everything in this book has been compiled through research, my own experiences, and the experiences of others, so feel free to question what you have read in this book. I encourage you to do your own research on the things that you want to look deeper into. The more you understand about your own mind and habits, the better off you'll be. To overcome a shopping addiction in your life, it will take some work on your part, but you can do it. So remember to read with confidence and an open mind. Chapter 1. Understanding Addiction. To know what is wrong, one must know first what is right. We start our journey by answering this all-important question. What is addiction? At first thought, you might think that an addiction is simply an attachment or overindulgence in something. However, you might not know that there is more to addiction than just a dependence. Most psychologists today categorize addiction as a form of mental handicap. It is, in a way, a psychological problem that sometimes affects people unconsciously. No matter what form of addiction a person has, there is always an opportunity to make a change. It is from the understanding of what addiction is and how it is triggered in a person's mentality that the cure may be found. So, if you want to change your life or the life of others from being an addict, then the first thing we should do is understand where the triggers are coming from. Understanding shopping addiction. There are many types of addictions, and one of them is shopping addiction or oniomania. It is popularly called compulsive buying disorder. People who have this addiction cannot control how they spend money, and quite often they will compulsively buy anything they wish with little regard for the consequence of their actions. The first time a shopping addiction was described seriously to the public was in the journals of a well-respected psychologist named Emil Kraepelin in the 1920s. According to him, this disorder was so profound that it was included in early psychiatric textbooks. However, the interest regarding this type of behavior waned through the years. Today, oniomania is a huge problem, though many agree that such a disorder is hard to diagnose. People with shopping addictions often encounter financial problems as their spending is not regulated. Aside from that, they are also prone to dealing with scammers, opportunists, ruined relationships, and might even end up with bad credit and become buried in debt. Reasons for shopping addiction. Most psychologists agree that oniomania is a manifestation of unfulfilled wants during the early years of a person's life, especially during childhood. People who have had a hard life during childhood are more prone to this kind of behavior. This is aggravated when these same people now have the means to buy every single item they want. A large portion of the shopping addicts around the world cite that negative childhood experiences were a big factor in the forming of compulsive shopping and spending behaviors. Repressed feelings of emptiness can also be let loose by excessive shopping. Many compulsive shoppers admit that their reasons for indulging in shopping sprees are to release stress and find comfort in what they buy. We must understand that people suffering from this kind of behavior are sufferers as well, though they might not perceive it as so. That is why our first plan to help people overcome their shopping addiction is to educate them about their problem and show them that they need help in that area of their life. If the support system around the addict fails to realize that at least part of the cause to the addiction was out of the person's control, it makes it harder to sympathize and move forward with the process of overcoming it. As odd as it may sound, many shopping addicts are actually not aware of the trouble that their compulsive habits are causing. It is usually when a close friend or family member confronts them that they begin to notice the consequences of their actions. However, even with the consequences pointed out to them, without identifying the mental triggers, the compulsive behavior will continue. A common myth that people in the public believe about shopping addicts is that shopping addiction is only a problem for the rich. This is not true. There are many people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds that have to deal with shopping addictions. This is because a shopping addiction isn't diagnosed based on what types of things the person is buying or how much they are spending. It is based on the fact that a person is looking to the act of buying an item to fulfill a void in their own personal happiness. What we have learned. Addiction is a psychological behavior, and many addictions are unconsciously performed, at least until they are pointed out by family members or close personal friends. Oniomania is the medical term for shopaholism. It is often, though not always, the result of a bad child-parent relationship and repressed feelings of low self-esteem. It is important to understand that in order to help a compulsive spender, we must look at them as people who need help, not just as inconsiderate or selfish people. Although it is frustrating for the people involved in the life of a shopping addict, it is also important for them to understand that to overcome the addiction, it will take time and a different mindset must be adopted. And finally, the first step to overcoming this addiction is accepting the presence of this problem in your life and to be willing to find solutions to change it. Chapter 2. Causes of Shopping Addiction. In the first chapter, we focused on understanding what addiction is and how it applies to a shopping addict. In this chapter, we will look into the main causes of shopping addiction specifically. The perks of shopping. As in many addiction cases, the direct benefit of shopping addiction is the immediate gratifying experience you feel when you buy something that you want. If you buy things, then you feel happy in some way, and this happiness is what makes some people compulsive shoppers. We must remember that spending money on shopping or to feel happy is not bad. The bad thing is when we spend our money in a way that does not benefit our lives or the lives of others around us. The illusion of control. Another thing that reinforces the behavior of the shopping addict is the illusion of control. When you buy things in a way, you feel that you are in control and that you can get what you want at any time. This feeling of control is very addictive to those who desire it, and it sometimes fuels the desire for some to shop excessively. The illusion of control is something that many shopping addicts have never really considered deeply because they are not able to step away from their problem and look at it objectively. If you are around a shopping addict after a new purchase, it is not uncommon to see a big spike in attitude after the purchase of the new item. Following trends. Though many would say that they are just being fashionable, following trends, catching on to fads, and any other related scenarios, these can be among the major causes of shopping addiction. The cultural background of a person will dictate the level of influence peer pressure has on them and how it can change his or her behavior. In some cases, people become shopping addicts because they constantly seek the approval of their peers. These people are those that may consistently buy things just for the sake of impressing friends or family members. The problem here is that if a person develops friendships based on materialistic possessions, those friendships are usually not authentic in the first place. It is almost as if the compulsive shopper is basing their self-image on what people who don't actually care about them think about them. Resolving childhood deprivations. There are cases when people buy things because they didn't have such when they were young, especially during their childhood years. Deprived children often long for the day when they will have the means to get what they want, especially things their parents or guardians were unable to provide for them. This repressed, unsatisfied need to get desired things tend to compound and is eventually released when they now have the chance to fulfill those desires. Outlet for emotional problems. Some people vent their frustration in activities such as going to theaters, playing video games, eating out, and/or shopping. Some people regard shopping as an avenue to release emotional strains, which is not bad unless it becomes so frequent that it becomes an addiction. This is a tricky one because there is no real line for which emotional shopping is bad. It is different for all people. For example, some forms of emotional outlets include gambling at casinos, betting on sporting events, or even going to gentlemen's clubs. Psychological disorders. In psychology, the uncontrollable urge to buy things is called compulsive disorder, and this may also be the case for some people who have shopping addiction. These people are genuinely unable to resist the urge to buy things and may need serious psychological help. However, as we'll cover in the following chapters, not all people who suffer from a shopping addiction need serious psychological help. It can often be overcome without long-term professional guidance, depending on how serious the person is about overcoming their problem. Importance of knowing the causes. It is very important that we know what causes shopping addiction to correctly assess whether one is suffering from this disorder. The items stated are causes of shopping addiction and the main reasons why people become oniomaniacs. Now that we know the main causes of oniomania, we can start our assessment. We can now ask, are you or is someone you know a shopping addict? What we have learned. The main cause of addiction is the pursuit of self-gratification. People buy to feel happy, and this can lead to addiction. Peer pressure is one of the major causes of shopping addiction, especially if the person is always trying to impress people that they barely know. Seeking to gain control and to feel in control at all times can push people to buy things compulsively. Shopping addiction may be a manifestation of a deprived childhood, especially if the child grew up in an underprivileged household. Lastly, shopping addiction may be caused by psychological disorders that affect emotional behavior. In these cases, professional psychological help is recommended. Chapter 3. Are you a shopping addict? Now we begin our assessment. Just like a doctor who needs to diagnose the illnesses of their patients to provide the correct assessment and treatment, shopping addicts should also do a lifestyle diagnosis to check whether they indeed have an addiction. The following are signs that may tell you whether you suffer from shopping addiction. Spending money excessively but neglecting to allot money for important things that are necessities. It is important to make it clear that spending money on excess things is not inherently bad. However, if you are spending too much on things of lesser importance in the trade-off for more important things, then there is a clear-cut problem. For example, Dave is a businessman who happens to have a loving wife and 2 kids. Every payday, he buys things for his kids. He buys new toys, clothes, gifts of all sorts, and he also buys something for his wife. When he comes home, he gives these to his kids and wife and sleeps a happy man. The following morning, he wakes up only to see late, unpaid bills on the table. In this scenario, Dave clearly has some kind of problem as he is neglecting to allot money for paying the unpaid bills because he is more focused on bringing joy to the other people in his life and spends excessively on buying things for them. If you or someone you know is like Dave, then there is undoubtedly a problem in the mindset. Constantly buying things you don't really need. Many cases of shopping addiction involve people constantly buying things that they don't really need. These are people that will buy clothes, shoes, kitchenware, and such only to store and never actually use them. It is important to know that most shopaholics buy things on impulse. They buy things because they like them and they have the money or the means to purchase the items. Shopping when sad, angry, or depressed. Having outlets for emotional strain is not bad. However, in some cases, it becomes an excuse for abuse. In the cases of some sufferers of shopping addiction, they find an emotional outlet in spending and shopping. There are instances when people will spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars just because they want to feel some type of comfort when they are down. One must remember that there are more productive ways to vent off steam, and spending excessively is not really the best way to drain emotional strain. Shy about purchasing unnecessary items. Most compulsive buyers tend to be embarrassed about their spending sprees and often hide their activities from family and friends. This type of behavior tends to break the trust between family members and friends and may lead to misunderstandings. Thousands of people suffer from emotional distress because of irksome disagreements that stemmed out of shopping addiction. If you realize that you are beginning to feel ashamed of your purchases or even try to hide the fact that you purchased an item, it is time to evaluate why you are purchasing those items and how or if they are actually benefiting your life. Overusing credit cards. Another common problem of shopaholics is having bad credit due to overusing credit cards. Everyone must understand that credit cards are convenient ways of acquiring things you need in an instant. However, this convenience is sadly abused and thus becomes the favorite spending method of people suffering from shopping addiction. The convenience provided by using credit cards allows people to use their cards excessively without consciously keeping track of their spending until they receive the bill. In some cases, shopaholics prefer to use credit cards over paying for an item with cash because they can avoid having to see the money leave their hand. A great method that is used to break the habit of compulsive buying is to start using cash instead of cards. If you feel that you're going to go on a shopping spree, go to the local cash withdrawal or ATM machine and withdraw the cash first. This will force you to become more conscious when you decide to fork over some hard-earned cash for an item. What we have learned. Shopaholics will often spend money on unnecessary things rather than allotting money for the important obligations such as home bills. Shopaholics may constantly buy things that they don't need and they have no plan of actually using. Shopaholics usually shop or spend when feeling down, depressed, and/or angry. It serves as their outlet to vent out these emotions. Finally, shopaholics can overuse their credit card instead of saving and buying items with cash. Chapter 4. Finding the Solution. Overcoming Shopping Addiction. Overcoming any type of addiction is not an easy thing to do. It is like giving up on your favorite TV show or letting go of a favorite pet, sometimes even harder. Freeing yourself from the bonds of addiction requires a lot of self-control and willpower. One must condition the mind to cope with the change and also be willing to undergo drastic transformations in order to effectively overcome addiction. These are some of the things you should keep in mind when committing to the journey of full recovery. Acceptance. Accepting the fact that you have a problem is the first and most crucial step towards recovery. Unless you fully understand your situation and accept the fact that you need help, any chance of recovery will be for naught. Trying to overcome an addiction and being afraid to admit it cannot coexist. Reconcile. Remember all those people who told you that you have a spending problem, the people that you disregarded? Reconcile with them and acknowledge them for their concerns. Show them your appreciation and allow them to help you. Remember that a heavy load becomes light when many are sharing the weight. This step alone will usually bring so much more positive energy towards overcoming the problem. Not only will you have much more support in the trying to overcome your addiction, but you will also not feel as guilty anymore because you aren't hiding your weakness. Remember that everyone has problems in life and you never know what other people are going through. One of the best revelations you can have in your life is realizing that every single person in the world has issues that they deal with every day. By accepting this premise, you can effectively move forward and be more open with the people in your life. Be proud. Normally, people will feel ashamed after admitting to having an addiction, but try not to make this the case for you. Yes, having an addiction can be shameful, but you should be more proud than anything else because instead of just succumbing to it, you are standing up and trying hard to overcome it. Remember, the first time you tell people about your issues will be the hardest for you. If you can just get over that initial hurdle, you will definitely be able to handle the rest. Be ready to change your lifestyle. Sometimes it is a good idea to start changing habits in order to avoid the urge to shop. Adding productive hobbies can be a good start. Try fishing, jogging, swimming, or any kind of activity that doesn't involve spending money. Leaving the old and starting anew is the last thing one should do in order to completely eliminate a shopping problem. It is amazing when people pick up a hobby that they had been ignoring for the longest time, and then they seem to become passionate about life again, and their previous problems seem like minuscule issues. What we have learned. Acceptance is the first thing one should do to start overcoming addiction. Shopping addiction often alienates people, especially loved ones, which is why the next thing you should do is reconcile with them. Say sorry and admit to your past actions, and ask every person close to you for emotional support and help. Lastly, start your new life with a clean slate. Be proud of your attempt to rid shopping addiction from your life. Never pity yourself or feel sorry. Remember that as long as we are alive, there is always hope for change. Chapter 5. The Conscious Shopper. Now that we've gone over the mental part of your journey towards overcoming shopping addiction, we will now look at some helpful techniques to halt your spending. Remember that shopping and buying things are not bad, but this habit should not come before your more important obligations. The following are some simple yet effective ways of becoming the conscious shopper. Part ways with your credit card. The first and foremost thing you should do to avoid spending excessively is to say goodbye to your credit card. Using your card to purchase things is so convenient that you will easily lose track of your spending. So, to start off a new life, part ways with your credit card and don't let a small piece of plastic take control of your life ever again. You may be thinking, but I want to build credit and earn points for other things in my life. Sure, there's no problem with those things, but get this part of your life settled first and worry about those things later. It doesn't take a lifetime to overcome a shopping addiction, and you can work on building credit and earning points when you feel that your credit card isn't making your shopping decisions for you. Always pay items in cash. As mentioned before, if you happen to need to buy anything, pay it in cash. Do not use any kind of installment options or use credit, as it will only pull you back into the quagmire of shopping addiction. If you do not have the money to buy it, then save so that you can pay it in cash in the future. You will be surprised how you will actually feel happier when you finally do purchase that thing that you've saved for. Never shop alone. Next time you want to go to the mall to buy something, ask someone to accompany you. Never go shopping alone, as it is similar to an alcohol addict going to a bar alone. Have a dear friend or family member go with you every time you shop. This will help you refrain from buying excessively and going on spending sprees. This will work especially well if you have taken the previous steps mentioned in the book and made sure to tell the person about your problem beforehand. Never buy online or from the TV. Avoid doing purchases online and refrain from buying from home TV shopping networks. Remember that addiction only recurs when opportunities are present. So always be wise and remove all triggers that will influence you to start spending again. Avoid discounts. Start to refrain from going to shops with discounts and promos. This will only entice you to spend more to take advantage of the discount. Steer clear of discounts, sales, promos, and the like. Always shop for what you need and never spend a single dime on things that are not necessary in the next 3 months. The 3-month rule is very helpful for people trying to decide what is necessary or not. This will help with clothing, for example. If you haven't worn an item in 3 months, then you either need to donate that item or sell it, barring extremely sentimental items like a wedding dress or Letterman jacket. Likewise, if you are shopping for clothing at the store, do not purchase anything that you will not be wearing in the next 3 months. If you are going to buy something to use or wear in the next 3 months, then replace it for something else in your possession instead of adding it to your collection. Have a shopping list every time. Disorganized spending can be just as bad as a spending addiction. This is why creating a shopping list, though seemingly trivial, is extremely necessary in order to keep track of one's budget. Remember to always create small lists of things to buy every time you shop and to never buy anything that is not on the list that you made before you left the house. Have others handle your money. If you are really serious in finding a solution to your spending problem, then allowing others to handle your expenses and your money may be a good idea in the short term. This is more of an extreme measure than the others, but if your problem is bad, you have nothing to lose, no pun intended. You can either ask a close family member or a friend, or you can work with a person at your bank to get this done. There are many ways to set limits on your accounts, as well as monthly and weekly bank account reviews. These 7 effective tips will help you to take a hold of your life once more and not succumb to addiction. Remember that the mind is a powerful force that can effectively dictate your actions. So, now that you have the mental perspective needed and the action items available to make it happen, set a goal and commit. What we have learned. To avoid returning to binge spending, completely refrain from availing of discounts, installation plans, and using your credit card. Shred these pieces of plastic to start becoming more conscious in your transactions. Allow people to help you with your problem. Allow them to accompany you when shopping. Have them hold your money and let them help you create your shopping list. If you don't have family or friends that you can trust in this process, there are tons of professionals, whether it be at a bank, a therapist, or any of the many others who work with hundreds of people in your situation and will keep everything confidential. If you do not have the money in your hand and your necessary bills paid, then save and wait to buy that special thing for when you do. Chapter 6. Happy and content. That's all that matters. As we finally head towards the end of our journey, we already know what shopping addiction is, how it affects people, and what its causes and possible cures are. However, after many solutions have been given and a number of tips promoted, there is one sure solution that will prevent anyone from succumbing to shopping addiction. Be satisfied with the current possessions in your life and don't let material possessions define who you are. As we mentioned, surface techniques that you can use, the cure to overcoming the addiction for good, lie in overcoming the internal issues that trigger the compulsive behavior in the first place. If you combine the surface behaviors mentioned in the last chapter with the internal techniques in this chapter, you will get the maximum benefits. Be conscious of all behaviors. Take a few weeks to become conscious of the triggers that cause you to get into a compulsive spending mindset. Maybe you have a compulsive skin picking issue, or maybe you start to bite your nails. Focus on what behaviors you are doing throughout the day and what is causing them. Many compulsive shoppers find that when they are involved in a stressful situation with their significant other or their parents, shopping is the best outlet for them to release the built-up stress. What they are missing is that by fixing the root of the problem, they can avoid the shopping altogether. If you find that family problems cause you to engage in compulsive behavior, focus on fixing the family problems instead. If the family problems are too much to fix, try to limit the interactions you have with those people. You'll be amazed to find that if you cut out most of the negative influences in your life, your compulsive behavior will usually drop as well. The people who you interact with should be adding positivity and inspiring you to live a better life, not creating tension and making you feel anxious or uncomfortable. Be content. Contentment is not refraining from buying anything. It simply means not wanting more than what is already there. Being content makes luxuries impractical and spending for things not needed illogical. Once you feel content with your purchases and the people in your life, then you will have the advantage in your battle against shopping addiction. These two simple yet powerful words are the ultimate solution to overcoming shopping addiction. Without a sense of contentment, no one will ever be able to overcome spending addiction because they are always in the search for more possessions. However, happiness and contentment must be combined together through the help of self-control in order to become effective. The perfect middle ground is a person who buys nice things that are high quality and will last long when they need them, yet doesn't buy any items that they do not need. By not letting material possessions define who you are as a person, you will notice that people may not notice you as much, but the people who do know you will respect you much more. This is because they are keeping you as a friend because of your character instead of because of your possessions or the money you are willing to spend. Essentially, your friends will be attracted to you for different reasons, almost like a narrowing down process. Creating self-control. Self-control is the ability to control one's own actions, and it is an important ingredient in addressing shopping addiction. Self-control can be developed by anyone. The only trick is that you have determination and perseverance. Once you are willing to make a change and make your life turn for the better, then you can follow these small yet effective tips that will help you live your dreams free from the restricting chains of shopping addiction. In order to create self-control, you should do the following. Always look at the bigger picture. Remember that life is not only about today. The future and all the surprises it brings are still out there. So just thinking about the future and the bigger picture, especially on what overcoming your shopping addiction can do for your future life, is a great way to build self-control. Think about all the money that is going to waste if you break your word to yourself. Do you want kids someday? Do you want to retire at a certain age? Think about where you will be in the future and what situations you will find yourself in. By doing this, you will be more aware of how your short-term actions will affect your long-term opportunities. Maybe if you want to send your children to college, That new dress or iPhone is not actually that important after all. What will your future self be glad that you did with your time and money at this very moment? Always relax the mind. Never stress out your mind in order to avoid rash and poor decisions. Always make sure that you get adequate sleep and have outlets to vent your emotional stress aside from spending. Meditation and deep breathing can be amazing steps to help you overcome your addictive behaviors. Meditation forces a person to be extremely conscious of their behavior, and it can really relax you if you are in a stressed-out mind state. Doing this right when you feel the impulse to go spend will help you greatly. This has helped me the most out of all of the techniques in this chapter, and the best part is it only takes a few minutes to experience the great effects. By deep breathing 4 or 5 times when an impulse arises, your physiology actually changes and allows you to become more clear in your thinking. Try it next time you are in a situation where you feel like you want to give in and make a new purchase. Sit down very still, close your eyes, and take 4 or 5 deep breaths while clearing your mind. Focus on your inhaling and exhaling and nothing else. You will be amazed at how you will lose that anxious feeling to spend. Never judge yourself harshly. Just get back on the ride. Never judge yourself if you slip up on the path to overcoming this addiction. If you find yourself failing, then put it into your mind that there is always a chance to bounce back and start over again. It is useless to sulk and cry over spilled milk, so clean it up and start anew. Once you have applied these methods of enhancing and maintaining self-control, then overcoming addiction and becoming satisfied, happy, and content in life is just a walk in the park. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep going even if you just gave in to a huge shopping spree and feel horrible about your actions. If you went 3 weeks before buying something unnecessary, pat yourself on the back because you are becoming more conscious and made some progress. Get back up and go for 4. Look at this as a long-term process and remember why you are doing this in the first place. Conclusion. I worked hard on creating the best guide for overcoming a shopping addiction that I could. These are all the strategies and information that has worked for me as well as others that I have talked to and researched. I guarantee that if you stay consistent, they will work for you as well. Be optimistic about your current situation and make small progress each day.